There are moments when cowardice looks exactly like courage, when the thing that feels like weakness turns out to be the only thing strong enough to change history. For Lieutenant Takeshi Yamada, that moment came at 14,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean on August 9th, 1945, when he made a choice that would haunt him for 70 years before he understood what it really meant. He's 23 years old, Imperial Japanese Navy, trained for 6 months to do one thing, die. The kamikaze pilots don't talk about combat or victory. They talk about honor, about sacrifice, about becoming wind and spirit. They talk about everything except what they're actually doing, which is flying explosive-laden planes into American ships because Japan is losing and desperation makes people call suicide a virtue. Takeshi's plane is a Mitsubishi Zero, loaded with 250 kilograms of explosives. Just enough fuel to reach the target, not enough to return. The mission is simple. Fly south, find the American fleet near Okinawa, pick the biggest ship, and dive into it at 500 kilometers per hour. He takes off from Kanoya Air Base at 600 hours with 11 other pilots. They fly in formation for an hour, then break apart. Individual targets, individual deaths. Takeshi's coordinates take him southeast, toward where intelligence says he'll find aircraft carriers clustered like gifts waiting to be destroyed. He flies for 3 hours, sees nothing but ocean. The fuel gauge drops past the point of return, past the point where turning back means anything except dying slower. He's supposed to feel peace. The training said he'd feel peace. He doesn't. He feels terrified. 23 is too young to die, and the honor they talked about feels abstract when it's actually your hands on the controls and your body about to become shrapnel. At 10:15 hours, he sees something. Not ships, a small island maybe 2 kilometers across, covered in jungle, but it's land. And land means people might be there, and people means his death might mean something. He circles once, sees smoke rising from the interior, sees structures, convinces himself there might be an American base down there, might be a target worth hitting. He begins his dive. The training takes over, angle of descent, airspeed, the moment when you stop being a pilot and become a missile with a heartbeat. The island rushes up, the jungle becoming distinct trees, everything telescoping into the final seconds. At 800 meters, something breaks inside him, not the plane, the certainty, the willingness. He pulls up, hard. The Zero shudders, protests, but he pulls up anyway. Levels out at 500 meters, his hands shaking, his breathing ragged. He can't find a justification, can't find anything except the raw fact that he's 23 and wants to live and has just failed at the one thing his training prepared him to do. He turns north, back toward Kyushu, back toward a base where they'll call him coward. He doesn't know that the island he almost hit is Tinian, that inside those structures sits a bomb called Fat Man, waiting to be loaded onto a B-29, waiting to be dropped on Nagasaki in exactly 6 hours. He doesn't know that if he'd completed his dive, he would have destroyed the second atomic bomb before it could kill 80,000 people. He doesn't know that his cowardice is about to save more lives than any act of heroism in the Pacific War. All he knows is that he turned back, and the turning back means he has to live with it. Takeshi lands at Kanoya at 15:47 hours, with fuel for maybe 10 more minutes, which is proof he came back when coming back wasn't part of the mission. The ground crew sees him taxiing in, confused. They're not trained for this, not prepared for a kamikaze pilot who returns. His commanding officer, Captain Saito, meets him on the tarmac. Saito's face processes relief, then confusion, then something colder. He doesn't ask what happened, doesn't need to. Lieutenant Yamada, you will report to my office immediately. You will wait for me to decide what happens to cowards. The word lands like a physical blow. Coward. The worst thing you can call a Japanese officer in 1945. Takeshi waits 3 hours while Saito consults higher command, while they figure out what to do with the unprecedented problem of a kamikaze pilot who lived. The orders are worse than execution. Reassignment to non-combat duty, stripped of pilot status. Maintenance work on planes he'll never fly again. His family will be notified of his failure. The war ends 6 days later, August 15th, 1945. Takeshi hears the Emperor's surrender while scrubbing engine parts. Japan has lost. The kamikaze missions accomplished nothing. He should feel vindicated. He survived. He was right to turn back. He doesn't. He feels like he cheated, like he took something that wasn't his to keep. He goes home to Kumamoto in September. to a village that knows what happened because the military sent a letter. His father won't look at him. His mother cries. Takeshi gets a factory job, marries in 1948, has 3 children, becomes the kind of husband and father that looks successful from outside. But inside, he's still 23 at 800 meters, pulling up when he should have kept diving. He never talks about the war, never attends reunions, never responds to interview requests because survivor feels like a word that doesn't belong to him. Years pass, his children grow. His wife dies in 1989. He's alone with the shame he's carried for 44 years. He's 93 in 2015, living in a nursing home when historian Kenji Tanaka comes to interview him. Takeshi refuses at first, but Kenji says something that catches his attention. "I want to talk to the ones who came back, because I think their stories matter more." Takeshi agrees to one interview, tells the whole story, the mission, the island, the moment at 800 meters when he pulled up, the shame that defined every day since. Kenji goes quiet, pulls out a laptop, shows Takeshi a photograph that makes his hands shake. Tinian Island, August 9th, 1945, structures labeled Final Assembly Building for Fat Man Atomic Bomb, hours before Nagasaki mission. "Lieutenant Yamada," Kenji says gently, "do you know what you almost destroyed?" And for the first time in 70 years, Takeshi begins to understand. Kenji has been researching for 3 years, cross-referencing Japanese flight logs with American intelligence. What he's found changes everything. On August 9th, 1945, at 10:30 hours, 15 minutes after Takeshi pulled up, American radar on Tinian detected an incoming aircraft, Japanese, single plane. Air raid sirens went off. Personnel evacuated the assembly building where Fat Man sat in final preparation. For 11 minutes, American forces prepared for a kamikaze attack. The plane circled once, then disappeared. All clear sounded at 10:41. Fat Man was loaded onto boxcar 3 hours later. Nagasaki was destroyed at 11:02. American records listed as unknown aircraft, no engagement. Japanese records don't list it at all. Nobody connected the dots. Kenji shows Takeshi everything. Radar logs, timeline, photographs, trajectory analysis showing his Zero would have hit the building dead center if he'd maintained dive for 3 more seconds. He shows casualty reports from Nagasaki. 40,000 dead immediately, 40,000 dying slowly. "Do you understand?" Kenji asks. "If you had completed your mission, you would have destroyed Fat Man. Nagasaki would never have been bombed. 80,000 people would have lived." Takeshi stares at the photographs, at faces that died because he pulled up. "I killed them," he says. "I pulled up and killed 80,000 people." "No," Kenji says urgently, "the bomb killed them. The war killed them. You were 23 following orders. Your choice didn't kill anyone." "But if I had died, if you had died, 80,000 in Nagasaki would have lived." "Yes, but there was a third bomb already being assembled. Target, Tokyo, August 19th. Casualty estimates, 800,000 dead." Takeshi can't process the numbers. "Japan surrendered August 15th because Nagasaki proved America had multiple nuclear weapons," Kenji continues. "If Nagasaki hadn't happened, if you destroyed Fat Man, they would have demonstrated nuclear capability again. Tokyo, 800,000 dead instead of 80,000. The math dances in Takeshi's head. 80,000 versus 800,000. His cowardice measured against certainty that Japan wouldn't surrender without proof that continuing meant extinction. "You're telling me by failing to die, I saved 720,000 lives? I'm telling you history is complicated. Your moment at 800 meters was neither courage nor cowardice, just a choice with consequences you couldn't predict or control." Takeshi sits with it for 3 days before speaking. 70 years of identity based on shame, confronting the possibility that maybe shame was wrong. "Both things are true," he finally asks Kenji. "I saved 720,000 tuz and killed 80,000. Both are true. Both are false. You made a choice that intersected with forces beyond your control." "That absolves me of responsibility." "No, it absolves you of omniscience. You chose to live. That's human, not cowardly." Takeshi thinks about his children. 3 children, 7 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. None would exist if he'd died. Is it selfish to value their existence over 80,000 in Nagasaki? Is it selfish to choose life? Kenji counters. Those people died because America dropped a bomb, because Japan refused surrender. You weren't part of that. You just made a choice at 800 meters. They spend 3 months writing a letter, not a memoir, just explanation. What happened August 9th, 1945, the choice he made. 70 years of shame before learning shame was incomplete understanding. Takeshi dies November 2016, 94 years old. The letter publishes in major newspapers worldwide. It becomes a sensation, the kamikaze pilot who accidentally saved a city by being too afraid to die. His daughter reads it at his funeral, finally understanding why her father always seemed haunted. The letter ends with a question: was I coward for pulling up? Hero for accidentally saving lives? Or just a 23-year-old who wanted to live, and everything after was the universe being more complicated than any choice can account for? Historians debate it. Veterans debate it. There's no consensus because there can't be. Takeshi's story resists categorization, demands we sit with the uncomfortable truth that the most important moments turn on choices the people making them don't understand. In Nagasaki, at the Peace Memorial, someone places a plaque, not official, just a visitor moved by Takeshi's letter. It reads, "In memory of the 80,000 who died here, and acknowledgement their deaths were part of forces larger than any single choice." History is not simple. Neither is courage, neither is survival. Takeshi would have appreciated that. The refusal to make him hero or coward, the acknowledgement he was just a person, making a choice, living with consequences never entirely his to control. At 800 meters above Tinian, on August 9th, 1945, Lieutenant Takeshi Yamada pulled up. That choice let him live. That choice let Fat Man survive. That choice killed 80,000 in Nagasaki. That choice saved 800,000 in Tokyo. That choice was cowardice. That choice was courage. That choice was neither. That choice was both. That choice was just a choice. And sometimes that has to be enough. Visuals.